Hello, and welcome to Step 3 Improving Together training. In this training, you will learn about using data to see what is happening, know what's required to improve, and how to act using scientific thinking to drive meaningful improvement in your team. At the end, we'll show you how to find more information and access the templates you need to get started. Every team at UH&M has a purpose which directly contributes to the delivery of the wider trust strategy, whether it's delivering excellent patient care, ensuring safety, or supporting frontline services. But how do we know if we're achieving that purpose? Our way of doing this at UH&M is by using a team scorecard. This is a small set of metrics that tell us how we're doing. These should be meaningful to the team, measurable, and reviewed regularly. This supports the principles of improvement by monitoring that which is valuable to our customer, creating a clear purpose, and helping us learn as we continuously improve. The team scorecard should reflect what matters most to your team to deliver its purpose. Start by asking, what outcomes matter most to our patients and colleagues? What processes or behaviours support these outcomes? And what early signals would tell us things are going off track? Keep it simple and have a few key metrics that will clearly show the team's progress. These will be specific to your team, but might include things like patient experience scores, response times, safety incidents, equipment availability, or staff wellbeing indicators. We can then measure these metrics each month and place the figures into the scorecard. We will also agree what level we need to achieve for each metric to provide a good service. We can then color code the monthly figures, green for achieving this level, or red for opportunities to improve. By reviewing your scorecard regularly, you can spot patterns. When a metric on your scorecard starts to drift, dip, or become inconsistent, it's time to get curious. Don't rush to fix. Instead, we can apply a structured approach by using business rules to help decide on what actions to take and where to focus improvement efforts. For example, a 1 month dip into the red may require us to use PDSA from Improving Together Step 2 to understand the problem a bit deeper before taking action, whereas a longer string of red against a metric, which is crucial to us achieving our team's purpose, will need something more. This is where the 8-step scientific thinking is used, as these problems may be more complex. The Continuous Improvement Academy is here to support teams to apply scientific thinking using an 8-step structure. This method builds on the PDSA cycle we learned in Improving Together Step 2, but as the problem is usually more complex, we will dive deeper into the planning stage to really understand what is happening. This level of scientific thinking supports each and every guiding principle for improvement, which is why we offer coaching to navigate this level of problem solving. We recommend that this method is used for the larger, more complex problems that contribute towards one of the Trust's strategic goals. The decision to proceed should be based on data from your scorecard with the acknowledgement that your longer-term improvement efforts will be prioritised towards this metric. This supports teams to stay focused, reduce assumptions, and drive change that sticks. Step 1 is all about being clear about the problem you're trying to solve. What's not working, for whom, and why does it matter? This is the chance to provide a little more detail on the metric from your scorecard and why it is important. Keep it simple, informative, and to the point. In an example, we only see 20% of our patients at their scheduled appointment time. This affects the safety and quality of the service we provide to our patients and the well-being of our staff. Here we have a clear purpose. We have identified our customer, the patients, and what is valuable to them, getting seen at the right time. We have also highlighted that our staff are stakeholders in this situation. Going forward, we should make sure that the voice of the customer and the stakeholders are represented, as they are directly affected by the issue. In Step 2, we need to know the current situation. This is where we take the time to really understand what's happening now. We use observation, data, customer and team insights. The Continuous Improvement Academy can help you to use tools like process maps to visually see what's happening and what decisions are made, and charts to display data to show how performance is changing over time and where in the process a problem is occurring most. Following on our example from the problem statement, 20% of patients each month are seen on time, and this has remained so for the past 6 months. Further data shows that 60% of patients are seen earlier and 20% later than their allotted time slot. Seeing patients early is affecting flow and pressure on our system and staff members. We could have assumed that the 80% not seen on time would be seen late, or that seeing patients early was a good thing. This is why it's important to stop and explore the current situation. At step 3, vision and goals, this is our opportunity to define what good looks like. We should have a good idea as we agree the value for this on our scorecard, and we can also ask our customers what they would expect. This will become our vision. We may want to set a higher target, as seeking perfection is one of our guiding principles. The vision set may feel out of reach at this time, or we have no idea how to get there, and that is okay. It's the top of the mountain we are climbing, and it gives us direction and a challenge. But we can break this journey down into smaller manageable chunks and set a smaller goal to take us part of the way based on what we already know. When setting a goal, be specific. Make it measurable and achievable in a realistic time frame. These are called SMART objectives. Back to our example. Our vision would be to see 80% of patients at their scheduled appointment time, and our first goal to reduce the number of patients we see early so that we increase the number of patients seen on time to 50% within 2 months, September 2025 in this example. We would recommend setting a hard date so that it is clear to everyone when the due date is. Step 4 is where we dig into what's causing the issue. We know where we are, the current situation, and where we want to get to and by when, the goal. By making this clear in the previous steps, this allows us to focus on what's getting in the way of this specific part of the process and discovering the root causes to the issue. Without gaining understanding from the previous steps, we could be in danger of taking actions that are not relevant or not going to make an impact on the problem. This step is where we really should involve our customers and stakeholders. That's why it was important in step 1 to know who they are. It is our opportunity to lead with humility and respect every individual, as they will experience the problem in different ways from us, and without this input we risk missing out on making a big impact or taking the wrong path forward. The Continuous Improvement Academy can help you use tools like fishbone diagrams to capture what people see and think, 5 whys to explore the reasons why those issues occur, or Pareto charts to understand what issues happen the most. These all help us to understand deeper before deciding what to do. In our example, without following the scientific thinking, we might have assumed that 80% of the patients were being seen late and put our effort into exploring this, when in fact that would only have addressed 20% of the problem. By following the process, we know to focus on why we see patients early, as this accounts for over half of the problem. The key things discovered were that the appointment times were not clear to patients, unit staff or transport. The secure door from the waiting room was left open, allowing patients to wander in, and appointments were not scheduled with patient flow in mind. Once we have identified the main root causes of the problem, we can come together and brainstorm ideas and select small changes to test. These should target the root causes and be safe to trial in your setting. This is step 5, where we select our countermeasures, not solutions, because we do not yet know if implementing the idea will have the right effect. In our example, the countermeasures were to plan appointment times with patient flow in mind, communicate the appointment times to patients and staff, and close the door from the waiting room. In the next steps, we can now plan to test out these ideas and monitor if the root cause has been reduced or removed by performing the test, measuring the impact and recording what we have learnt. As with all continuous improvement, this may take more than one PDSA cycle, and we can come back round the cycle and apply what we have learnt at the next test, but it's important to record what we plan to do, what we expect to happen, what actually happened, and what we learnt along the way. Step 6 is where we fine-tune our plans. Against each countermeasure, be clear on who will do what, when and where. Spend some time considering what might go wrong and how you'll monitor the change. There may be something new to measure here. Taking forward our example countermeasure to close the door from the waiting room, the receptionist was tasked with ensuring the door was kept closed for 1 week. We will monitor the number of patients entering the unit unattended by staff, because if the door was kept closed, patients will need escorting from the waiting room. There is a risk that patients will get frustrated at the change and not understand, and this was raised by the patient representative we invited into the process. So the staff nurse will create a poster to display in the waiting room explaining the change before we start the test. We are now nearing the end of the planning phase of the PDSA cycle, which we covered in Improving Together Step 2. Once we have performed the test, we can come back to this step and record what actually happened. What was the impact? Did it affect staff time to provide care to our patients? Did it affect resources used, therefore impacting our carbon footprint? Or did we use more or less equipment which could affect our team's budget? Has there been an impact on any of the other metrics on our scorecard? In our example, we predicted that no patients will enter the unit unaccompanied. This may take up time for the receptionist to monitor and police this, and time for the nursing staff who will have to collect patients from the waiting room. What actually happened was that by closing the waiting room door, the receptionist was able to stay at reception longer and greet patients and explain the change. The nursing staff were able to dedicate their time to treating the patient in their care. They are able to have the right equipment prepared for the appointment and minimize delays and errors, but there was extra time and motion used to collect the patient from the waiting room. We have seen 75% of our patients on time. Patient experience scores have dropped to 6, safety incidents were reduced to 1, and team wellbeing scores are higher at 8 for this time period. Step 8 is where we record our insights following testing. It is a space to reflect on what has happened and what we have learnt. What worked, what didn't, and what's next. Use this insight to decide if we're going to adopt the change tested. If so, do we need to create some process standard work or a status exchange to help scale up the test into everyday practice? Adapt the test from what we have learned and go for another PDSA cycle to test the countermeasure further, or abandon this test because we have learned that it has unwanted effects. In our example, closing the door has had a big impact on seeing patients at the allotted time. We have started communicating the change to the patients. As they return every week for treatment, they are aware of the changes being made, and initial satisfaction has dropped because they were used to getting seen early, and it is now clear that the appointment letters need more detail. The service has become more equitable, as before wheelchair users struggled to get access to the department. Now they are assisted and seen at the correct time. Although we have noted that we leave the door open after assisting, allowing other patients to enter the department. Staff report being happier and more in control of their daily workload. Although it is new to collect patients from the waiting room, it has been a good opportunity to chat to patients and start an informal assessment of their needs. Once the 8 steps of the scientific thinking are completed, you should hopefully have a much better understanding of your problem. where our improvement efforts will or have had the most impact, and learnt something along the way to inform your next steps. It is now important to go back and update the previous steps with the information you now know. Is the problem still the same? What's the current situation now? Have we met our goal? If so, what is the next goal? We walk through the steps in order, time and again, until we reach a sustained improvement that lasts. You may be asked to share the details of what you are working on. If we are following the 8 steps of scientific thinking, we can display each step on one single A3 size page that tells the whole story. This is why this level of scientific thinking is sometimes called A3 thinking, and the one-page document is referred to as the A3 report. Go and find out what A3 reports your department are working on. Get involved, or reach out to the Continuous Improvement Academy for support to get started. For more information on the tools we've introduced today and to download templates to get started, head over to the Trust intranet. Click A to Z of services, I for Improving Together, and the box for Improving Together tools. For help and support and coaching on the use of these tools, contact the Continuous Improvement Academy team by emailing us at improving.together@uhnm.nhs.uk. Thanks for listening.